going to call this Community Homeless Advisory Board meeting to order. It's 9:04. We'll start with the salute to the flag. And Councilwoman Jordan, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Of course. Chair Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Vice Chair Mayor Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Lucy is absent. Councilwoman Jordan.
Present.
Councilman Reese is absent. Councilman Dare.
Here.
And we have DA Herb Kaplan from the DA's office. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next up, we'll be calling public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the board agenda. The board will hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the board as a whole. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do. First up, we have Sean Hosier.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. I have never been in a position like this before, so hopefully
Can you speak into the mic?
you bear with me. But I'd like to share the fact that I have become a success story. And all I had to do was just listen and follow procedure. So for that, I am truly grateful because I've gone from if I don't protect my items, if I don't protect my property on a daily or nightly basis, someone will just steal it. I'm from Westside San Jose, and that's a pretty rough town. And when someone stole one of my crutches, that cut it for me. So I thank you for where I am now and what I have, and I can't believe that I qualify for such an incredible place. I've paid full price for less. So I can't thank you enough for, like I said, I'm not germane to these proceedings whatsoever, so hopefully I'm not wasting anybody's time. But thank you very much. I don't know, I'm speechless. All I know is without Yvonne, I have no idea what's going on, and she is the program to me. Is it okay that I don't speak my entire time?
Yes, that's fine, Mr. Hosier. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Madam Clerk?
Next up, we have Pat Cashell.
Good morning, everyone. Just have a quick announcement. It's a little bit bittersweet, but today's the last day you'll see me standing in front of you as the director of VOA. It's a little emotional for me. Pat Cashell. It's been 10 years now since I took over at VOA and operating the shelters. And it's been the best 10 years of my life. My last day at VOA will be on March 31st, which coincides with the last day that I was actually homeless and addicted to meth. So 16 years ago, I started a new chapter in my life. And this March at the end of March, April 1, I'll be starting a new chapter in my life again. So, but I just want to tell everyone, not just what an amazing journey it's been, but the amazing people I've been allowed and blessed to work with, from everybody at the city of Reno, to Washoe County, to all the different organizations, even the homeless advocates. It's been a blessing, and I encourage you and everyone in this room and everyone in our community to continue doing what you're doing, because we're making a difference. And I know there's critics out there and naysayers, but I know firsthand, I've been on the ground floor, ground zero for 10 years now. And where we were 10 years ago and where we are now is huge, huge strides. I always joke, because the first meeting like this was with my dad, and he didn't even show up. And it was me and a couple other people. And I think the meeting lasted about 10 minutes, and we all went to lunch. And so I applaud all of you, every one of you, everyone in this room. It's not an easy job to see human suffering every single day. The employees at Volunteers of America that I was blessed to work with for the last 10 years are some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. So anyway, it's hard for me leaving this job, but it's also, I'm looking forward to the next chapter in my life. And I just want to come here and say thank you to everyone that's touched my life and allowed me to serve as the director of Volunteers America, and the trust that you showed me was unbelievable. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Next public comment?
There's nobody else signed in.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, well, and Mr. Pat Cashell, thank you so much for your service. This board really appreciates all that you've done for our community, and it is hard work, and the sacrifices and the emotional toil that I'm sure that it took on you and your family. We appreciate you. Thank you. Next item is item number 4, the City of Reno Clean and Safe Program presentation by Cynthia Esperanza of the City of Reno. This is a non-action item.
Good morning. Chairwoman Hill, members of the CHAB, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the Clean and Safe program, which began a couple years ago. Today, the program itself has certainly evolved. When it was established as a strategy to address the emerging issues along the river pertaining to public health and safety. Over time, we've become service and outreach centric, and are driven by our mission of improving equitable access to public space through a collaborative approach to outreach with our unsheltered neighbors, community health, and public health. And safety, of course. Couple highlights. The program was launched as a pilot program in December of 2019. Of course, the pandemic happened shortly thereafter. We halted operations, but really we continued to do the outreach. In December of 2020, we contracted a partnership with the Karma Box Project, which allowed us to provide additional outreach specifically along the river corridor. In May of through September of 2021, this was, of course, after the Nevada Cares campus opened, and we were able to continue to do the work. And following CDC guidelines related to COVID, we conducted a Truckee River operation. This operation took several months. There was extensive outreach that was conducted beforehand in advance, and the intent was to restore the corridor's natural habitat. In October of 2021, we also established a partnership with the Downtown Reno Partnership for Park Ambassadors. This has provided an additional team to work specifically with the parks within the Business Improvement District, in addition to 2 additional neighboring parks. And last but not least, 2 weeks ago, We established a contract with the Reno Initiative for Shelter and Equality, RISE. This is a 16-month contract to provide additional outreach support for the unsheltered community within the city of Reno. Before you, you have a overview of the program itself, really providing a high-level holistic view of how we operate and our program. It includes several departments. It's an interdepartmental-led initiative that includes, of course, code enforcement, fire, our housing division, and the Reno Police Department. Within the Reno Police Department, we have the homeless outreach team that work hand in hand with our clean and safe staff and providing those resources in the community as well. The other piece with RPD, you will see there is the MOST team. There were additional hires that were made, and that's an additional tool that we utilize as a team when doing work in the community. We also highlighted our community partners, which of course include our regional agencies and NDOT. In January, we established an interlocal agreement with NDOT to allow us to provide outreach on their properties as well. Providing a fiscal overview of our program, we're looking at around 1.5 million per year. This includes our contracts that I mentioned with Karma Box, our Downtown Reno partnership, our Qualicom. We do have a service provider that assists with the larger cleanup operations. And then, of course, our dedicated staff, and this includes our clean and safe staff and park rangers, which we were reintroduced to the city, along with our homeless outreach team with the Reno Police Department. The contract with RISE really is to bridge a gap that we were encountering in the community. Throughout the Truckee River operation and just ongoing outreach, we have encountered that there are a significant number of service-resistant individuals in the community. While we have tried to work with our staff and nonprofits, we recognize that we represent the city of Reno. We come in a city vehicle. This partnership really is to bridge that gap for us and to work with the most vulnerable service-resistant individuals in our community. We also listen to our community. We were hearing the value that lived experience brings to outreach, and they're providing that as well. This will certainly help staffing levels as well internally, where we will be able to address other matters that come up, and also reduces pressure on our law enforcement agencies, whether it's the police department or even code enforcement. We're seeing a lot of activity on private parcels, so this partnership will help with that as well. And last but not least, they will be working evenings and weekends, which is another tool that we're bringing to the team. Our hope is that this partnership will be transformative and assist connecting additional individuals to services. Operational coordination. So there are numerous departments involved, numerous staff members as well, at varying levels. And what we currently do as a team, we have a daily operations huddle. This huddle reviews service requests that come in the previous day, and that is how we're able to deploy services as needed in the community. With the added outreach, we also have an outreach team that meets and discusses, trends that we're seeing or individuals that need that additional assistance. Our weekly downtown huddle has been incredibly important as well. This is in partnership with city staff and the Downtown Reno Partnership. Through these conversations, we've been able to provide outreach in advance of significant events in the downtown area, such as Santa Crawl, the Zombie Crawl. Those events bring a high level of individuals to the downtown area, and we're able to share that this will be happening. How could we get you to the shelter? What do you need from us? So everyone's aware. And last but not least, our bi-monthly team meeting. That's the entire team that I mentioned in the org chart slide. Community health and safety, of course, is our number one priority. What we know is that our weather here changes drastically. So just sharing a couple pictures, one of culverts that are impacted during rainstorms. This was outreach that was done as we were awaiting another rainstorm. Fortunately, these areas were vacated upon arrival. The second picture, this is over on Commercial Road. This is before the Truckee River operation. We know that fires are very common, and they could happen at all hours of the day, oftentimes at night. This one happened in broad daylight. We were able to respond immediately. No one was hurt. But ultimately, our role as a team is to ensure that everyone has a high quality of life, and safety is critical to that. Public spaces. This is Fisherman One Park. While we work and do outreach and do cleanups, it's really important to ensure that public spaces are accessible by all members of the community. That includes families, children. So this is an example of a cleanup that was conducted at one of our parks. Similarly, the Truckee River operation highlighted the need to do extensive cleanup along the river. This is a before and after, well, this is a before, of the Kitski Bridge. This is summer 2021 as we were conducting outreach. And as we conducted the operation, following up and visiting these sites has been key to ensuring that we maintain the current status of the area. And this picture was taken last week, same area, a couple months apart. As an organization, we are certainly seeing an increase in service requests. We definitely saw a peak in 2020, and that is likely due to the pandemic and the inability to do a lot of the outreach and the work that was being done at the same rate previously. In 2021, we did see a 13% decrease in service requests. That could be in part due to the river operation, additional shelter in the region as well. But service requests is really how we drive our operations. In 2021, 1,700 service requests were submitted. We continue to see a rise in the summertime, decrease in the winter. The vast majority of the concerns are homeless concerns. That could mean in an encampment, in a public area, a sidewalk, or just an observation from a resident, followed by city parks, private property, of course, and encampments along the river. To provide an overview of 2021, there were a total of 229 cleanups conducted throughout the city of Reno. That resulted in over 1,500 individual notices to individuals. And that could be a tent or someone that was in the area. Based on the 229 cleanups, 31 enforcement actions were issued. That includes a citation to community court or an arrest. And overall, there were a total of 10,088 cubic yards of waste collected. This, of course, includes the river operation and additional cleanups conducted in the community. 10,088 cubic yards of waste. What does that look like? The amount of waste collected would cover Mackey Stadium at 5 feet, 6 inches tall. I am 5'5", so essentially my height throughout the field itself. Outreach, like I shared earlier, outreach is how we operate, what we lead with, and what we feel will make an impact in our community. There were over 200 outreach engagements last year. And a key piece to that I'd like to highlight is we have incorporated municipal court as part of our program and part of our team. What that means is we have an additional resource to join our outreach efforts in the community and inform individuals about community court. Overall, there were roughly 9,000 contacts, and that includes our clean and safe staff and our community action officers. Looking at the 31 citations that were issued based off the cleanups and the over 4,000 contacts our community action officers led, less than 1% of those were citations, which I think is a key piece to highlight. I did also learn that JTNN is part of the outreach efforts with Muni Court, which is adding an additional layer of support to individuals. So we have contacts, numerous conversations, but what does this mean? These numbers provide an overview of 2021. 55 housing arrangements were made. Within that column, you'll see the safe camp is a pretty high number. There's 28. We're very thankful to have our community outreach program coordinator be part of the Built for Zero outreach team, working very closely with the county, which has helped us facilitate enrollment into the safe camp significantly. 65 ID replacements. That includes connecting individuals to the Social Security office and the DMV to get these replacements. Oftentimes, this includes transportation as well. 4 employments and 170 family and friends reunifications. That includes the 4 conducted through outreach staff and 166 through the HELP program with RPD. Future projects. We are currently finalizing details with the Truckee River Flood Management Authority for 2 additional park rangers that will provide additional support to the Truckee River. Increased river stakeholder engagement. We've heard from community members that want to get involved and help maintain areas. So that's something we're working on. And of course, ongoing outreach training and coordination. In April, we will be having a training led by John DeCarmine, who I know has worked very closely with our region. So he graciously accepted to do a training with us virtually. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Wow, this is such an exciting program. I'm going to go to Reno first because this is your program. Yes, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cynthia. We at City of Reno have seen some of this, but I don't think we've seen it in its sort of completed package. Can you go back to the graph that showed, I think it was page
The org chart?
11. Page 11 that shows the Reno Direct Service request, because I think this is a data-driven chart that really is beneficial to show us where the calls are coming from. I mean, I get calls and emails every day about issues. Those have definitely diminished, and I'm getting a lot of feedback that areas look much, much better than they have in the past. The parks, the river corridor in particular, if you've not been down to the Riverwalk, go walk it. It looks nothing like it did in the past. But there is a lot of work still to be done there. Mm-hmm. My question is, when do you do this count? Because I know there's a spike sort of in the summer, a decrease in the winter. When are you doing this count again for 2022? Because I'll be very curious with the additional programs and personnel, how we're trending. It looks like we're trending in the right direction.
I would agree with you. We actually have the ability to pull this data at any point in time. So I work very closely with Reno Direct on pulling information. We get daily reports from them, and that's how we're able to deploy resources to areas. But we could certainly keep an eye on this every quarter, every 6 months, every year. I'm constantly just peeking at where we're at and what the trends are based on the keywords as well.
So this would be helpful, but I just want to make sure that you're pulling the data at around the same time you've pulled it previously, because you just showed us a graph that shows that the number of activity and encampments increases during the summer.
Right.
So I don't want that to skew something. I want, if you're pulling that data, in April of every year, then wait until April. But that's good information. This, as a data-driven board, we always like that. So thank you very much. I think this is great information, and the program and Antonio and the Downtown Reno Partnership and the ambassadors. It is, as Pat Cashell said, it really is the work that everybody has put in over the last few years, I feel like is starting to gel and come together now. And you're a big part of that too, Cynthia, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions? Councilman Dare?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. A couple things, and I definitely appreciate the work. Obviously, we're in this region together. No one, well, they know where the sign is. It says Sparks Reno because some of them stay on one side or the other depending what's going on. But I just want to challenge all of us, and I say that this is to us in Sparks. That river should never have looked like that. And as much as I celebrate us getting this done, I think we need to be real careful on this end that that's our drinking water, that's for our families and for our homeless. I mean, they can go down there. This is not to stop anybody in our community from using that, but I look at that and as much as I'm pleased, I'm not pleased. It breaks my heart. And I say that because those are people's lives, one, and then that's also our river and our resource. And we can scream all we want about all kinds of global warming or whatever, but if we're not taking care of the very thing we have. So my concern is making sure that we have these bridges, that we work together as a region. This cannot be, I know I've been down there and you've seen it, where if Sparks does something, that line, all of a sudden on the other side, there's a whole encampment and this craziness going on, but it's not on the other side. And we've seen it both ways over the years. This is not picking on one group or another, but our public deserves better than that out of all of us. So I say that just looking at that, I'm like, yay, oh no, that's no good. And so hopefully from here on, we can make sure that does not happen. The other quick thing I just did ask, is it possible, and I say this to anybody, I think I've found that yearly data, if you did that in our own finances or in our own life, we would be doing a very bad job of keeping track of anything. It'd be better to see these monthly and just all the time, and then you're not worried about them this summer because you're comparing July to July, August to August. That's truly how data should work, especially in these as our lives. Counting or looking once a year is a very strange process to me. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm really excited that y'all have hired Rise. I think that's going to be a game changer. So I cannot wait to see, going back to the data, what it will look like once they're making those contacts, because I think that your statistics on the housing arrangements will go up, especially as we have additional housing in the community. So big kudos to y'all for doing that. I was just wondering, Cynthia, do you know on the 1,500 notices given, are they repeat offenders? Do we know that they're the same person that we talked to from the time before? Do we keep that? And I don't know if there's access to HMIS when you use or when you make contact with these folks.
Right, those definitely are, there could be duplicates. We notice an area and then they move elsewhere.
Right.
So we do know that. We don't have an entry for every individual in HMIS. Oftentimes tents could be vacated when we're there.
Okay,
Or they're abandoned, but everyone still receives the proper notice.
great. Well, thank you for that. Is there any more comments or questions from the board? I
Madam
really
Chair?
appreciate it. Yes.
I would like to note that Councilwoman Weber arrived at 9:11 for the record.
Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome. Okay, well, thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Next up, we will be looking at the homeless outreach, item 5, the homeless outreach proactive engagement HOPE update with Lieutenant Anthony Maselli, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Chris Rowe, Sparks Police Department. Come on up.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board.
Morning.
Lieutenant Anthony Maselli, Washoe County Sheriff's Office for the record. We're going to be giving a presentation on the homeless outreach proactive engagement teams with both City of Sparks and Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Give you guys just a brief overview of what the teams have been working on and the accomplishments we've made and the challenges we've come across and what we look forward to for the future. So with that, we'll start with Lieutenant Chris Rowe with Sparks Police Department.
Good morning. I'm Chris Rowe for the record. I'm with the Sparks Police Department. No, not. So just a quick recap. The HOPE team was created in May of 2020. It still consists of the same complement of 1 sergeant and 2 officers. One of the biggest updates that we have this year is that a couple of months ago, our HOPE team met with one of our Sparks Municipal Court judges, and we established a limited jurisdictional agreement between the Sparks Municipal Court and the Reno Municipal Court Community Court program. What that does is it allows our officers, it was initiated with our HOPE officers, and has now actually gone into our patrol officers as well, to where they can essentially make a note on a citation, community court in the top. How that routes through the process is it still goes to our municipal court in Sparks. The municipal court judge reviews it, confirms that they believe it's a good candidate to go to the community court program, and then transfers jurisdiction of that citation to the Reno Municipal Community Court. Our yearly stats, this is from February 2021 to February 2022. Total contacts, as you can see, is just over 2,000. People who've accepted resources was a little bit over 200. It's 208. And then people who we transported to resources, shelters, hospitals, actually giving some folks a ride to the bus terminal to get rides, was 97. So if you add the numbers for the people who accepted resources and the folks who we were able to transport to resources, it equates out to roughly 15% of the people that we contacted this year accepted resources. Now you'll see the number there. It says, I want to highlight this first. It says citations at 32. The community court program started, like I said, several months ago. So that number is a little bit off. Essentially, just a little bit over 20 citations were issued into community court, so that would decrease that number of criminal citations. So if you take the number of arrests along with the number of citations, excluding the ones into community court, it essentially means about roughly 2% of the people we've contacted, we've had to take some kind of law enforcement on, legal enforcement on. Of the arrests, I'd like to highlight a number real quick. 19 of those arrests were felonies, so roughly 51%. And just a couple of cases that I wanted to highlight of what happened in those arrests. 2 people were arrested for a robbery with a deadly weapon. In this case, the weapon was a firearm, and the victims in this case were a homeless couple at a homeless encampment. 2 people were arrested for battery causing substantial bodily harm. In this case, the victim was burned and ribs were broken. The HOPE officers investigated this, and during the course of their investigation, they actually determined and uncovered a human trafficking ring that was operating at the same time. And then another case that I wanted to highlight was actually a burglary of our evidence lot at the police department. Again, the HOPE officers investigated that and made arrests for that case. The current challenges that we're seeing in Sparks is abandoned or hazardous RVs on city streets. The biggest hazard that we're seeing is a lot of these RVs are broken down and they're old. Their holding tanks, their sewage holding tanks aren't really holding anymore, and what we're seeing is that there's black and gray water that is leaking onto the city streets. Additionally, they're parking in areas that are restricting view for traffic, which is causing traffic concerns and potentially traffic accidents. Additionally, we've seen an increase in fires in homeless encampments. Several months ago, we actually recognized that there was a potential safety risk with this. We actually partnered with our fire department and went out and we did safety notifications at homeless encampments and had the fire department folks come in and they pointed out, hey, your propane tank, whatever, your gas stove, whatever they had in there, how it is set up, that could potentially be a hazard to you. It could start fires. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of success with that. As you can see, we had quite a few fires that popped up as a result. But we did recognize that as a potential threat and tried to mitigate that once we saw it. A success story I wanted to highlight, I'm going to refer to this individual as AA. AA was found living underneath the McCarran Bridge and below freezing temperatures. He had recently been diagnosed with throat cancer, and his roommate had recently passed away. You combine that with the fact that his rent was raised, his roommate had passed away, he couldn't afford his rent anymore, and he was forced to become homeless. because he couldn't pay his rent, had to give his cats away to the Humane Society. When our Hope team found him, he was near hypothermic and hadn't eaten in several days. So what we did was we got him inside a vehicle, we got him warm, and then our Hope team went to work, started making calls at all the local groups that we could. Eventually, we linked up with a group. They were able to move him in essentially in an emergency and get him into a facility. We ran into a slight hiccup with that in terms of payment because his money hadn't come in and they needed the money per their policy. So thankfully, we have some very great citizens in Sparks that provide donations to us specifically for this. So we use some of those donated funds. And the Hope team actually paid for his first month to get him off the streets and get him warm.
Okay, as for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Hope Team, our program was established on July 5th, 2021. So we're just coming up to our 1-year anniversary. The team consists of 1 sergeant and 2 deputies. The team provides outreach to our homeless population by providing resources, education, life-sustaining assistance, transportation, and medical attention, just to name a few. Our team works very closely with Washoe County's Housing and Homeless Services team. The team works closely with all Medicaid providers, which has been instrumental in providing the resources and care needed to assist our unsheltered population. One of our most valuable additions to the team has been the recent mental health clinicians from MOST, the Mobile Outreach Safety Team that we have added to the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and they ride with our team on a weekly basis now, as well as with our patrol deputies as well. Some data for 2021, or since inception of the team. In 2021, from July to the end of the year, we had 284 contacts. And this year, from January to date, we've had 103 contacts. In 2021, we had 66 folks accept resources, and year to date this year, 29 of those 103 have accepted resources. Some of our other efforts include large-scale cleanups due to different health hazards and high volume of calls for service. In 2021, we had 3 larger scale cleanups. That was on the dirt extension of Leon Drive, on Quartz Lane, and the tunnels under Veterans Parkway. And this year, so far, we've had 1 cleanup, which was north of Weems Park. I think it's important to note here that prior to any cleanup that our team does, they go out and meet with everybody out there and offer all sorts of outreach, education, resources on multiple occasions before any type of cleanup is underway. These are some photos of some of our cleanups. This is Leon Drive and Quartz Lane. The photo on the left there with the RVs and trailers that Lieutenant Rowe spoke about, some of the same challenges we have with the fluids and all in these RVs, and what do we do with them? How do we dispose of them if they've been abandoned, or we need to move them? And the picture on the far right is the cleanup, after the cleanup on Leon Drive. The picture in the middle there is one of the abandoned vehicles that obviously is inoperable, that on Quartz Lane that we are left to deal with. So that kind of gives you a little understanding of the cleanups that we deal with. One of the things that we do, that we have worked with Washoe County on, is towing the RVs, trailers that do not operate, that are left abandoned. We take them to Longley, have all the fluids drained from them with our heavy shop there, and then we can dispose of them afterwards properly. This is another cleanup. The Veterans Parkway tunnels, as you can see, the before and afters there on the left and right of the debris and items left behind that we are left to deal with, and then the center picture is after the cleanup efforts there. During the winter months and the storms that we had, we dealt with the tunnels being flooded, the individuals that were living under there, having to deal with that flooding that we went in and assisted all of them with. As far as some of our challenges, as was spoken about by myself and Lieutenant Rowe, the abandoned, unregistered, and dilapidated trailers, RVs, and inoperable vehicles, the limited space at the Longley Yard to store these trailers and RVs until properly rendered safe to tow, which I spoke of just moments ago. Individuals who will not seek shelter at the Nevada Cares campus, our place, or another shelter. Open land is limited in the areas of Washoe County, the unincorporated areas of Washoe County. We have a lot of open land that we deal with, not so much city streets, so to speak. So finding open land for people to safely camp on is very limited. Due to the cleanups, sweeps, or other terms used for addressing our unsheltered population encampments, many of the same individuals move back and forth between jurisdictions. I know this came up with the city of Reno's presentation, and we go through the same thing. Our teams, we offer outreach, and we deal with individuals who end up moving over into Reno or Sparks' jurisdiction. They deal with them, and it's kind of, they shuffle back and forth. And then a verification of bed space in real time, which we are working on with the county's team on that and getting those numbers in real time so that the team can call up and find out on a daily basis, hourly basis, if need be, what bed spaces we do have available. Some additional challenges. Washoe County is currently the only law enforcement entity without an illegal camping ordinance. This is something our team has been working on, and we are developing an ordinance to present to the county commission for adoption, which allows our team to deal with areas more efficiently. Our team takes pride in not citing or arresting, but rather providing outreach. As I mentioned earlier, before any cleanup efforts are underway, we go and provide outreach on multiple occasions so that the resources that are available to individuals are offered and hopefully taken. Large encampments can allow for an unsafe balance in our community due to large accumulations of rubbish and debris, unsanitary conditions, drug paraphernalia, and calls for service such as domestic violence, trouble unknowns, batteries, assaults, trespassing. The need for caseworkers is another challenge, as the team is often acting as the caseworker for the individuals they come in contact with, ensuring follow-up is conducted to provide the services and outreach that is needed. That is, again, something that they are working with the county's team on, and I'm sure in the next presentation, Ms. Searcy will be able to elaborate a little bit more on the caseworkers and all for the county there. Some of the successes, which I think are the important things for our team to highlight. Our team has worked diligently to break the barriers between law enforcement and our unsheltered population. As I'm sure all of you are aware, that barrier is very challenging to break, and I like to think that our team has been very successful in breaking down those barriers and building a rapport and a relationship with our unsheltered population so that they understand that we are there to offer resources. We are not there to cite them or make an arrest. We are there to offer assistance. After the completion of all 4 cleanups, not a single citation or arrest was made, which is, I think, something to be very proud of. Individuals were able to move, were very cooperative with the law enforcement side of things, and those rapports and relationships that our team has built with them allowed that to happen. We have provided 1 bus pass, and I believe it was to Wisconsin. Is that correct? I believe it was back to Wisconsin, where our team was able to contact the family of this individual and reunite them and provide that transportation back to get with his family. We've housed 2 separate individuals, each having a dog, and we've built invaluable partnerships with Medicaid providers, local shelters, local entities who provide a continuum of care, sister agencies, county roads, and sheriff's office work crews, to name a few. And as was mentioned earlier, we now have most workers who ride with the team on a weekly basis. One other thing that's another success that's not on the slide here that I'd like to just touch on is our alleviation of calls for service for our patrol deputies, which frees them up to deal with other calls for service that the sheriff's office receives. Our team does a great job of, if a call for service comes in that is dealing with somebody, an encampment or an unsheltered person, they are the ones to take those calls and go and meet with those individuals so that we can offer the outreach rather than, I don't want to sound bad, but a regular patrol deputy dealing with it who doesn't have the experience or the education to offer those services. And along with that, our sheriff's office team, we've publicized it heavily. The email group for our team, we have community members emailing us daily with not only locations of encampments that are of concern or debris piling up, but also with success stories and appreciation for our team and everything that the teams are doing. So what does the future hold? A consolidated database for jurisdictional continuity. We currently have a system developed through the county that we are working with that helps speak with HMIS. But on the law enforcement side, developing a data system that, or using a data system that helps pull that data that we share with you guys and with the command staff of each agency. A continued collaboration with our local shelters, the community, Washoe County entities, sister agencies, and service providers. This is a big one, I believe. Training and education for our team on how to recognize the relationships between mental health, substance abuse, and homelessness. This will ensure the proper utilization of resources and referrals needed to help individuals. Caseworkers who are crucial in completing follow-up and much-needed continued care for our clients. As I said earlier, right now, our team is providing a lot of the follow-up, and they are acting as their own caseworkers, ensuring that the resources are provided to individuals that we come in contact with. So having those caseworkers permanently hired and assigned that can take on the cases and follow them from point A to point Z. A county ordinance for illegal camping, which I spoke of and we are developing. And then a streamlined process for the towing of abandoned vehicles, trailers, and RVs, which is another process that we are working on, but being a brand new team, there's speed bumps that we run into, but we are overcoming those. So with that, we will entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Rowe and Lieutenant Maselli. I had a chance to do a drive along with Sergeant Daniel and her compassion, her team's compassion and hard work of being caseworkers, on the ground caseworkers, using phones to take notes and get people their medication. I was just blown away. So great work. And I'm going to go to the City of Sparks since you're our partners in this cooperation.
Well, good job, everybody, and this is at-large sharing. To me, I think I have most of my answers. I'm pretty aware of exactly what we do and how. There's only one conversation at large. I just want to make sure our public understands, and at least from my heart. Many of you guys know my background as a pastor. I've worked with homeless for years, 30 years plus, and we always want to see them help. That's without question. And I love the balance that we're trying to walk of helping. But I almost, if we're not careful, we can overbalance. And I just want to make sure this is clear. If someone's breaking the law, I don't want us celebrating ever that we are letting somebody who's breaking the law or has a record that needs to be taken care of. And I appreciate, and I say this, when we say we're celebrating that we didn't give out a citation, I don't want, we're not looking to go arrest anybody, and I never want anybody walking out there going, I can't wait to go see who we can, bring to jail. That's not good for anybody. But at the same time, I just think it's important the words we use to our whole community. Do not break the law, because our police at all sorts will be there to make sure our community is safe. And I just want to be careful of the words. I'm just listening to this, and it almost seems like we're walking in going, well, let's just do our best not to arrest somebody who might be a criminal. That is not, at least not for me, anything I've ever supported or agree with. We have a community with a lot of things rising that are not good. right now. Our police are more active than ever with some of our burglaries, you name it. And I'm not saying that it's this group of people, but I think we do walk in neutral. Your goal is to help without question. But I think you do that everywhere you go anyway. I don't think this is a new conversation. So I just think a balance needs to be said. And I just want to make sure it's said that obviously we want to bring help. We want to make sure it brings mental health. We want to bring resource and those things. But if we find someone, let's just say next month you come and you came gay and you had to arrest somebody. I don't want it to sound like you did something wrong because you had to arrest somebody, because this month you didn't have to. And I think to our community at large and anybody working with people holding people accountable actually is a form of caring for them, in my opinion, that we are doing that. So just a balance I just want to put out there, listening to all of the different things, and one is not doing worse than another just because they give out they're holding the law accountable. So enough said, but I just want to make sure that we keep a balance. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson?
Yeah. On the contacts, how many average time do you contact somebody before they'll take services? Or, and let me just start with that question. Thank you.
So for us, sir, it's individual dependent. If I had to estimate, it could take between 8, 9, 10 contacts before someone could feel comfortable enough to actually have a real conversation with our officers and to build that trust. Sometimes it only takes 1 or 2. I've been present when there's been an initial contact and the person is needing help right then and is willing to accept it. So I wouldn't say that there's a firm number set of how many, but depending on the person's level and where they're at in life, we gauge it based on that.
So out of the 2,000 contacts, those are multiples or different individuals?
They could be multiple.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think that's important to know too, so that we don't think that there are 2,000 homeless folks out there.
Correct.
The communication, the HMIS system, how do we exchange information between Sparks and the Sheriff's Department? So for example, you contact Ed Lawson on the street. I have schizophrenia and my drug of choice is meth. And I move out to the county. Do they have the ability to know that's my situation in Sparks?
I would say currently right now, we have a lot of communication between our teams, all of our teams regionally. As far as a system to identify, hey, Sparks came in contact with this person here and now they've moved over here and we're coming in contact with them. That's one of the pieces that I spoke on earlier about coming up with a system that we can all share and communicate with one another and get that information as needed. We're working on that. As far as information that goes into HMIS, we aren't privy to a lot of that information just because of certain regulations. But any data that we enter into our system does transfer over into HMIS, but we necessarily can't see some of that information in HMIS. So the system that Sparks uses, that's another one that we're looking into to maybe utilize that way we can share information between the agencies.
I think that's the only way we're going to streamline this, because you keep bouncing them around between jurisdictions, and one jurisdiction doesn't know what the other one's already done. You know, and I also know that the houseless population has a million excuses not to get services. And when you start with a new agency, they get to start from number one again and same excuses. So I'm hoping that that's something we asked for 6 or 8 months ago to get where we can communicate with each other. I think that's totally important to stop the transfer back and forth and then actually solving this. Then I want to go back to the arrest part of it. When you mentioned the felonies, tell me, what do you think on average because I'm certain that there's an underground network there of felons that are, I know, can you tell me about, there was one, a pedophile we found that was wanted out of Southern California. Do you remember that case?
I don't remember that one, sir.
Okay. Well, that was one of the things that I heard from our previous staff. But anyways, we're arresting people that are those kind of people that are living on our streets. that we're not going out there for the average homeless person that lost their home, is down on their luck, to arrest them for being homeless. We're arresting the felons. We're arresting the bad people in there. And then there is a market of those folks that prey on the other homeless folks too. As I was aware of a death threat to a homeless couple because they reported this guy for beating them up or something. I don't remember what it was exactly. I get the weekly HOPE reports, and I read those diligently and try to memorize those because it's so important to me that we're making a difference. But
And if I may elaborate on your comment earlier about the felons, I'd like to also point out that the Sheriff's Office HOPE team a couple months ago ran into an individual, speaking of the underground network and all, ran into an individual at an encampment who was wanted federally. We ended up, the team did an outstanding job making contact with this individual and some of the dangerous situations with this individual and the other people present. The FBI ended up getting involved because he was wanted federally, and we were able to successfully take that person into custody without any kind of situation developing from that, so.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate all that you all are doing. Sparks, Washoe County, City of Reno, law enforcement has been a tremendous asset as one of the numerous cogs in the wheel. And back to the information, it's not just the jurisdictions passing the information off, it's all the resources as well. And if we're going to effectively have warm handoffs to services, those entities need to know kind of the status of the individual and what their needs are in that moment. So I do think the data is critically important. Speaking of data, do you guys happen to know when you have an encounter and the individual, when you say they've gone to a resource, do you guys transport?
We can,
You can?
and
Do-
a lot of times they do, yes.
Okay, do you happen to know the largest number of locations where they're going to when they're connecting to a resource? What is the number one resource or location that they're connecting to that you have
We're both
contact with?
Our sergeants here, Sergeant Daniel and Sergeant Adunco.
Say, what,
What?
sorry? So Sergeant Adunco is our HOPE team sergeant. She says that the number one resource that we're seeing is the Puff House.
The what?
Please introduce yourselves.
Sergeant Shatana Daniel for the record.
And for the record, Sergeant Jamie Adunco.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Sergeant Shatana Daniel for the record with Washoe County Sheriff's Office.
And Sergeant Jamie Adunco with Sparks Police Department.
Fantastic. Did you notice they're asking the women for the answers? Yeah, the women got the answers. Okay, so when you go out and you encounter an encampment or where you're connecting the individual to resources, is there a shelter or a facility in which the majority of those, first off, the demographic of the largest demographic that you're encountering, is it men, is it women, if there's a percentage, and I know I'm not putting you on the spot, an estimate is fine, but where are you taking them or directing them to?
So as Lieutenant Rowe had said earlier, kind of is individual dependent. As far as Sparks goes, we have more contact with males versus females, and they're a little bit older male in terms of age, I would say. Primarily, it just depends on what that person is needing at the time. So if there's something like a license or a social security card, we can take them. It's called the Puff House. It's on Mill Street, and it's through Nevada. Sorry.
They're going to be with HPN.
So it's Health Plan in Nevada, and they do a lot of different things there. They can get IDs, they can get connected with psychiatric services, primary care provider. So it basically will start at the Puff House and then branch out from there.
Okay, I think this might be the first time I'm hearing of the Puff House. Maybe it was a different name that
Sorry.
I'm not
Can you
familiar
spell it? I just make
It's PUF, but I'm sorry.
PUF.
It's Anthem.
It's
Okay.
Anthem Molina, who is our new provider in Nevada
Medicaid.
for Medicaid.
Okay.
And so we have Anthem Molina, Silver Summit, and then fee for service and no insurance.
And then they'll direct them to a shelter or housing from that location.
So essentially, it starts there, and so there's a couple things that they have to do through the Puff House. They get their psychiatric appointments and their primary care provider appointments, and once they've basically been put into the system, whatever is lacking, they have to, they get set up, and then the Puff House can help them with applying for housing and on from there.
Okay.
They're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. See, something new today I wasn't fully aware of. And the other question that I had was, again, I know that you guys are all doing a tremendous job. You showed some of your data as far as trends and calls for service. Was that one of your slides? Because that would be helpful as well, so we could kind of see how the jurisdictions are meshing with their calls for service. I did just look, there is shelter space available at the CARES campus. There's virtually none at our place. I think there's one bed. And as far as the cleanup of the river and the encampments, I know that before the CARES campus, we couldn't do a lot of enforcement because you have to have the beds. And now that we have double the bed space, that has really helped tremendously as well for the work that you all do to see success for the long term as well. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you so much. My question is you had mentioned, or it states that you're the only enforcement entity without an illegal camping ordinance? Correct. Okay, so that means the other two, Sparks and the city of Reno, has the illegal camping ordinance. So my question is, what do you see? You obviously you're going to be asking the commissioners to approve that camping ordinance. Is it going to be the same as the other two entities?
Yes, so for the same region, it'll pretty much mirror the same city ordinances that both Reno and Sparks have, just so we're all pretty much operating under the same ordinances.
Okay. One of the things I was going to ask, and I don't know the answer to this, so I want to ask here now if I could. Do we have a panhandling ordinance in Washoe County, City of Reno, City of Sparks? We don't. Because I think that is an issue in our community as well, is the panhandling.
Councilwoman Jordan.
And I was going to say that is covered, I'm sorry, under Nevada revised statute.
Yes,
so.
yes. It's covered under NRS, and we have a lot of, our RPD has a lot of ordinances with regards to illegal panhandling in certain areas of the city, in addition to the NRS.
Okay. Okay, and then, thank you. It's good to know. The other question I have is, you're talking about training and education for your team on how to recognize the relationships of, the drugs, mental health. Are we not working together with the city of Reno and to make those calls? Are we having conversations? And I think you've kind of mentioned it in the training, but it seems to me that we should all be sharing that information because we should all be taught the same as well, doing the same things. So is that where you're going?
So we do work, speaking from the sheriff's office, we do work with the city of Sparks and city of Reno. We communicate all the time. As far as specific training and all together so that we are all doing everything the same, that's something that we can work towards so that we are all under the same training and education so that we can provide the same services across the board in our community. We do work with other agencies who have successful programs developed where we go down and learn from them and find out what resources and training and education that they've received that we could also attend to better our team.
Okay, and then you're also, I think it was, you're using the Puff House, is that what it is? Puff, is that?
And I think, did that used to be WellCare?
It still is.
Okay.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had never heard the acronym Puff House before. Okay, it makes more sense now. Thank you.
They actually, so the Puff House, we had a meeting with them combined, and they offer a lot of stuff that we didn't even realize, and we deal with them all the time. Like, they have like 300 beds that are available. They have different programs. They now currently are just beginning a mobile outreach team. So they've always had one that's went to Reno Behavioral Health or Renown specifically. Now they will actually be boots on the ground and coming out with us if we call them, and they will come meet with us and actually do like a screening process. And then they can actually see where they need to go from there, which helps us out tremendously. So, because then we're getting that person the help right there, real time. And then, so we haven't used that yet, but it's as of this week.
It just
Yeah, it
started.
just started. So.
You know, I have a couple more questions, but I think I'm going to ask them offline and get the answer, so I'm not taking up the time,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you for what
more
you're doing.
comments, questions? Thank you. Great job, team.
Yes.
We really appreciate the presentation and update. Next up is item 6, board update and discussion on the Nevada Cares Campus Emergency Shelter by Dana Searcy, Washoe County, non-action item.
Okay, for the record, Dana Searcy, Washoe County. Good morning, everybody. So, CARES Campus priorities, still a lot of staffing and training, safety and security. We've updated a little bit our facility and construction as that starts to tick up and we begin the process of bringing on some temporary buildings and switching up a few things, getting ready for construction to begin, and partnership development. The major updates for this month is, one, we still have that women's dorm, again, opened just at the end of last month. It's going well. It's remained full. Also, that overflow is still open. There has only been one night that those cots have been full. All the remaining nights the past couple of months it's been fine. There's also continuing to have capacity in the warming center. So we're watching it pretty close, but we're doing okay. That is anticipated to remain open through the end of March. Also, campus partnership and volunteer development opportunities. That was a big focus for this month, and we'll share where we are on that. Community resource guide. I brought these with us today. These were created, I know this has kind of been a long-term standing request, so I wanted to share with you. This was created for our point in time count and was handed out. The idea behind this is, our team has really been struggling with how do we create a resource guide that stays up to date, that isn't out of date the minute we print it, that doesn't wind up being additional trash all over the street and in the river, and really could be useful. So these cards were printed. Again, it can fit in your pocket. It includes the emergency shelter information as well as a QR code that goes to our website, and that list is now being constantly updated. So we'll see how this works, and if not, we'll tweak it a little bit, but so far feedback's been fairly positive. Also, recruitment efforts. We'll share with you what the staffing numbers look like. That's been a pretty big lift this last couple weeks. Mod Pod update in this presentation. Temporary shower buildings are on their way. We're still working through the best options that are going to last us about the next year, but we've found what we've needed. So working through the shower situation. And then again, that operator RFP is posted. And we'll close on March 25th. So as far as partnerships go, we have 3 really large buckets that are moving forward. One is those vendors and contractors, all of our operators, all of those big service supplies that are coming in. The last contract was officially moved over from the city of Reno to the county. We have a few more transitioning from VOA to the county, but all in all, that large effort is complete. And the operator RFP for, again, a start date of July 1 is posted. And that will end on March 25th, so we hope to have a good update for you on what the future holds for the operator at the CARES campus during the next CHAP meeting. Also, our partners and our service providers. This is the group of individuals and companies that we're working through MOU agreements to bring on the campus. That is a list there in that little oval that's currently in place. We have 10 or so more in the works, and this will continue to grow over time. And really the process is, why are you coming on to campus? What do you need in order to be able to provide the service that you are going to provide? And how can we best work with you to make sure that those partnerships are working and everybody has an understanding of who's on campus and what's happening. And then our volunteer program. You all received an update. That program has launched about 2 weeks ago. To date, we've received one volunteer who attended an orientation last week, and she'll be starting this week to help serve meals on the campus. And again, that program, we're looking forward to that growing and continuing to change and evolve as the needs of the campus do. I know we've got some opportunities with many of you coming up to get in front of you and your teams to talk through what that can look like and how we can get people to help. Mod Pods, we just moving through this quickly. I know you all know this. We included a couple pictures of what they look like. We're almost through the assembly process. I believe the last couple are being assembled right now. Once they're all in place, we'll be looking at moving our Safe Camp participants back over to the temporary location. So probably next week is when the target will happen for that. This is just a couple more photos. This is our little dashboard of our John DeCarmine recommendations and where we are in this process. We simplified it a little bit. A lot of things are in process, some not started yet. Again, they're in the queue, and we'll just continue to show you this each month so we can watch that progress. Staffing levels. We experienced some shift here. VOA has come up about 6 staff. I know they've had quite a bit of recruitment activity, and things are going better, much more positive movement, I would say, on the front of hiring staff. The county has also seen quite a bit of interest. Again, good news that we're seeing. We were a little bit nervous given the times what the interest would look for those case manager positions and the mental health counselors, but we're getting a lot of interest, and that's great. We have a new analyst starting today, and one of our mental health counselor supervisors starting next week. So we're slowly gearing up here. The case management, I know so many of our programs are very reliant on those case managers. As the HOPE team said, 2 of those that we are hiring will be dedicated to them. That was initially approved last year through the county budget. That was not part of the additional staff added specifically for CARES. But we've got 2 case managers for them, 1 for the Safe Camp, and again, the 20 for CARES campus. So quite a bit, a very large interview process happening later this month. So hopefully soon we will fill all of the case manager roles and see some progress happening on that front. And this next set of slides, I'll move through quickly. I'll let you absorb them. And obviously, please feel free to send questions or if you'd like clarifications or to see something different here. But we're really trying to work towards having a monthly stat pack, for lack of a better term, that we can email out and post on our website so that the community can see progress at the CARES campus, and then eventually expand this into other programs in the community. Again, really holding everybody to the same set of measurements and how our program's doing and what kind of results are we seeing. So this is a breakdown of ethnicity and race. We've included veteran status now we have, and gender. These are your different age groups at the CARES campus. And this is what we have been sharing with you the last couple months is our exits from the CARES campus. This is from the emergency shelter specifically, and then also the length of stay for those successful exits that we're seeing, as well as exits from Safe Camp and the length of stay for those successful exits. So up next for the CARES campus on the operations side, we've got this very long queue of needs and initiatives. So one, construction preparation. As I mentioned, we're about maybe 6 weeks out from construction starting or so. That involves quite a bit of prep on the campus, a lot of temporary buildings, running power and internet and that kind of thing. We'll be moving VOA staff up to the front of the campus to help with the phones being answered and being there with security to help field some of the people showing up and the requests being asked. I think we've all heard the feedback, and we've been working very closely with Allied, our security team, and also VOA to figure out what the best way is to equip them so that they have the tools that they need to be able to answer the phone and have accurate information about beds and that kind of thing. So we're getting closer. It's all process as you've all been watching us work through it. So that's a priority for next month. In addition to that, moving community mail. We have a building that's been placed already, so we'll be working closely with the City of Reno housing team to just make sure that timing makes sense, and we've met with the post office on all of that kind of thing. So we want to make sure we have plenty of notice. That is no small feat, but it will be moved this month over to the CARES campus. Also, our capacity dashboard. We appreciate that it's slow at best and a little bit delayed. So what we're working through is an automatic update. So if our place goes in and they update the information at 2 a.m., that automatically gets updated. We're not waiting for a person to grab it, process it, get it onto our website platform, and then have to push the button to update it once all of the other programs have updated. So we know it's an issue. We're continuing the work on this one. Also, as I mentioned, the stat pack. We really want to get to the point where we've got these very standardized metrics that we're all watching and measuring each month, and that we're actually talking about them and using them to make decisions and share what's happening.
Chair, before we go to this, do you mind we do some questions on this? Because they're two different.
On the statistics?
Well, yeah, what we just went over.
Sure, Councilman Dare.
It's just a very quick. On our veterans, it seems that we have 60 to 90 veterans at any given time. With knowing the veteran, well, I know the resources out there. Why is this do we not have proper VA there? It just seems that what I know is out there for them, this number is way too high. That's a question. I don't know. If you don't have an answer, it's okay. I don't know.
But I will bring one back with me.
Thank you.
Well, and I would say we still are having issues with making contact with all of these people that are in the campus because of the caseworker shortage. Is that correct? So hopefully when we hire our caseworkers at the end of this month, they start in April, theoretically, we'll have better ways to get them those resources. That's the plan, correct?
Absolutely. And by understanding who's there, right, the women, the veterans, a lot of these big groups that have some specialized opportunities and resources out there, getting our arms around what does that look like and organizing that effort. But I will look into it and bring back.
Just on the same question, does the veteran groups do we have any VA that come down, any of their caseworkers? There's a whole group of them from what I understand. Are they not partnering with us?
Yes, they are. They're on this list. They have been a good partner, but I do think it's probably worth me doing some research and bringing back a more thorough answer. But yes.
Thank you. Any questions on this side on stats? Okay. Continue, Dana. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears to our construction update. We didn't want to get too far along without sharing with you what this picture has developed into. It looks a little like this. So we're getting closer. This is the overview. You can see the phase 2 is still that sprung update package and some of those cubbies that are going to go in, and the bathroom, shower, laundry, building A and building B. And phase 3 is the new largest building that would go in. That is about a 20,000 square foot building. That includes most of those initial things that were on our list last year of cafeteria, case management space, mental health space, training space for groups and that kind of thing. It will serve as the intake area and the security area. And on the second floor, it will have offices for the admin staff, and a break room area and locker space for the 150 staff that are on campus during the week.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
On this, I apologize. The question I have, so you said it was going to be about a year before the permanent shower, restroom, laundry. And I
Yes.
know you're working on the interim shower and restroom situation. The laundry, will that be part of that interim as well? Or where do they do their laundry for the next 12 months, I guess is my question.
Sure. So on-site is the bathroom and the shower buildings that were originally there. We've had a laundry, City of Reno brought on a temporary laundry facility, so that is still on the site. That will remain on the site.
Okay.
The Building A, which is the one on the north side of the sprung, that building will be the first building that starts construction. Right now, we're targeting about December for that building to be open, at which point we can remove the remaining temporary things because that building will have restrooms, showers, and laundry.
Okay, but there is laundry existing,
There is-
temporary laundry on property right now?
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Phase 4 is those buildings that will exist on the housing property. One is the deep red off to the west is what's targeted for our resource center. The idea is that again is separate from our campus and really serves as a hub. If you're about ready to become homeless and you don't know what to do, if you are unsheltered and you're not sure what to do, if you just need to come and get a meal or take a shower or do your laundry, you'll be able to do all of that there. Community court, those types of things. This is going to be a hub of partnerships and resources for our community that will be housed in that current building. That garage building that's there is going to be repurposed into that. That will include some additional space for wintertime that can be opened up into overflow capacity. The idea is that our shower, restroom, laundry that would be there for day use time would also double as the overflow resources that we're going to need during the cold time of winter. And then that purple building is our bridge housing. It's also shaded at this point as details start to fill in there. These, you have seen these layouts, but I just wanted to draw your attention to a few changes that we are making. I know it's difficult to see on this screen, but you can see the different colors of the sprung are highlighting the different areas. We are dividing the sprung into 6 different sections, and the 7th section, which is that darker purple in the middle, is the storage area. Each of those sections will have approximately 100 people in them. Some of them a little bit less, getting us to that 525 on capacity once all of the cubbies are in. This is at the end state. This is just another look of what those cubbies look like. These are those restroom, shower, and laundry facilities. Those are your counts for each of those units. And again, we added color so it's easy to see what this looks like. This was designed specifically so that we could take sections of this and divide it off. So for example, we could take the right-hand side and say this is dedicated for women and they've got showers and restrooms that can be monitored by staff. But over time, as the campus grows and changes in our community, that could be changed. These are some renderings of what it is going to look like inside. This is the shower and restroom area. This is the laundry area. And these are the floor plans for the new large building. The yellow area at the front is the intake area. There's a lot happening here. Everybody coming onto the campus will pass through here. The dark yellow is our security zone. That's where everybody will be screened. We will have an x-ray machine and a scanner for bags. Again, the focus here has always been about minimal touch. You know, it's a very big process to go through every bag and search every person. And we want to make sure that it's as comfortable as it can be so that we're doing the best for everybody going through this process. And then we've got intake. There are 3 intake stations in here, a nurse's area, and a few restrooms. All of those little seats that you see in there is a waiting space for training and case conferencing. There'll be a check-in process here. And then also there'll be community computer and phone use inside this building. Everything in that peach area behind a wall there will be the case management space, the mental health counseling space, and all of the groups and training and all of that will happen in there also. And the green on here is the cafeteria. And the blue is the kitchen. And that dark green space is actually an outside space between this building and the shower restroom building that will butt up next to this that will serve as an outdoor patio area. And this is the second floor of this building, fairly small to the rest of it, but this will function again as admin space for the staff and a a locker area and a break room space for them to have a space to get away.
Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you. Can you go back to the cafeteria?
Yes.
Question for you. On the light blue area that you say is a kitchen,
Yes.
is that new? Is that a full-blown commercial kitchen? What is this?
It is not. This is the exact kitchen that we've been planning. It's a warming kitchen, and it has the ability, the way that this is designed is not to freeze meals or reheat meals. It's that warm meals are brought in, and dishes can be prepared like serving size and very similar to our Catholic Charities dining room, you know, the big platters, and we're serving individual trays. There are pieces in here. Again, we're trying to become flexible and be prepared for whatever happens. There is, most of this, what you're seeing is preparation tables and storage area that could be removed and replaced with like freezers and ovens for a retherm type of option. But this is not a commercial kitchen. We're not going that direction.
Okay, this is just to keep the food at an appropriate
Yes.
health level. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so that it can be served in the bigger trays. I got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Chair, can I
Yes.
jump in? Thank you. Couple questions. Are we just steered away from any housing on this then? We're not doing any transitional housing?
This is not housing. It's back on this picture here. It is that very large purple building.
Where's
Oh.
that? The phase 4?
Phase 4, yes.
That's where where would housing go on this property? That was talked about from the
That's
beginning.
housing. Yes.
That is housing.
That is housing.
So, and that would be transitional for people who are ready. Okay, because I heard rumor that that might be disappearing, and that concerned me. So, okay, thank you. And then on the other thing, are we, knowing that we have ambulance there on a regular basis right now, and you mentioned a nursing area, is that a cubicle, or is this actually a place that could take care of, because it doesn't do our region any good to have something small and then we keep bringing in ambulances all the time, all the stuff that's going on. What is your thought on that?
So lots of different work moving forward in this arena. So one, that nurse's station is styled very much like what you would experience at a school nurse's room. 2 exam tables, a sink, a small refrigerator to hold medication or that kind of thing, next to a restroom that if somebody needed to get to a restroom or to be cleaned off or that kind of thing, it's right there for a nurse to help. What we are seeing at our campus, and every campus is different, but we have a lot of need for the bruises and bumps and the things like that that a nurse could easily take care of. Alongside that, right, we're again trying to reduce the number of calls to 911. So we've got, we're gonna try a hotline that Remza is working with us to set up that all of our staff will have access to, and all of the people living in the shelter will be able to call and get a nurse on the phone right there to help triage before we're calling 911. What's the situation? We have a lot of things, you know, one example is we run out of oxygen. How do we get a new oxygen tank to the campus? Most staff wouldn't know that, but if we could get somebody on the phone that has the time to just give us, hey, here's 4 or 5 different resources, let's not call an ambulance for that. we can take care of it and still provide that resource. That's kind of an interim solution, and it's been working really well at our place. So we're gonna expand that over to the CARES campus and have a dedicated line just for CARES and our place to be able to call to get a nurse on the phone. In addition to that, we're gonna be partnering with Hopes as they develop that facility that will be built right next door and what that looks like. We've had conversations about knowing that the appointments don't necessarily work. You know, if somebody's here right in front of you asking for help, can we help them right away? Can we have a walk-in clinic? That kind of thing. So we're working with them to see what best way they can help partner on this campus.
Okay, continue on.
Okay, so that is Phase 3, we're calling this, the very large 20,000 square foot building, which will house, this will essentially complete what is needed for the shelter to run. The intake, the security, a cafeteria, you know, that kind of thing, that'll all be part of the operations of the campus. And then the Phase 4, which is the resource center and the bridge housing, that really starts to turn our emergency shelter into a campus where we have housing opportunity and are, again, providing that resource hub to the community. This is, again, just a couple renderings of what that dining area looks like. And some outdoor pictures. As soon as we get this building placed, we'll have more to share. But we're trying to continue the flow of information out as it becomes known. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. All right, any additional questions on this side? Yes.
No, just real
Vice
quick.
Chair.
I'm amazed how far we've come in a year. I truly am. You guys are doing a great job, Dana. And wow. I mean, a year ago, we didn't have anything. And here we are talking about transitional housing. This just shows we can do stuff together when we want to. Thanks.
Thank you. And yes, Councilwoman Jordan.
Dana, fantastic. That was a huge amount of information that was really, really helpful. Can you let us know, us on the CHAB and all the management in the different jurisdictions, when you put your, as you called it, I think your stat pack
Yes.
out? Because that is, from a community standpoint, that's really good data to share. Some of it might be a little more data than some want to consume, but I think it's super helpful to kind of show real time where things are and how they're progressing. I really appreciate that. That is really good information. I don't know if we asked if we were planning to have Mr. DeCarmine back to do a assessment, sort of, here's what I'm seeing now sort of thing. He was very frank and honest when he came to us the last time.
Yes.
I think we've come a long way, but it would be nice to get his expert sort of and fresh eyes to do an update.
Sure.
I don't know if he had planned on coming out again or what the status was. Maybe that's for the next agenda item. Sorry.
That's okay.
But kind of getting his read on things. I mean, we're every day in it, and it seems like we're making some tremendous progress. It'd be nice to have his expert opinion.
Absolutely. He is planning to come out in May this year to help us through kind of the next phase of transition, moving into the new RFP and new policies and what, not even new, but updated and kind of a consolidated effort. So yes, I will absolutely put that on the plan.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you. The cards that you have, are they going to be distributed in the community? Are they going to be available to people just to hand off to someone?
We will get them anywhere you'd like them. So just let
Okay.
me know. Our staff does have them. They're available in the back of the room right now. Again, we tried it for the point in time count, and actually it worked so well. We thought, wouldn't that be nice if you had a card in your pocket that you could take out and say, hey, you know, this is how you get help. It links to, again, resources on our website, not only for food and legal services and that kind of thing. All of the shelters are there, as well as our housing list that we did through our Built for Zero program last year. All of the different transitional and permanent housing options in our community.
I would think that all of us, everybody would want to have those available when you're walking around, when you're talking to people.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. And we can get some in the back, and hopefully, there's a lot of them available for the rest of the community as well. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jordan?
I have a question on that. Do we have data on how many of our homeless population have a smartphone?
I can pull it. It's a lot more than you would expect.
You are correct. And I was hoping we had maybe a percentage that we could share with the public, because a significant number, as I have been told in the past, do have access to a smartphone. So that little card can be very, very helpful. I know I did, a couple years back, a resource guide that was attached to a refillable water bottle. But you are correct. As soon as it was printed, I think within a month, there were new numbers or new facilities or something was outdated. And it is hard to keep that stuff updated. So maybe for the next meeting, if we could get an update on how many we believe have access to a smartphone that could, utilize this, it would be great. Thank you.
Chair, I do have one thought on
Yes.
that, if you want.
Councilman Dare?
Is it possible to find a way to get this just around the community, maybe on a sticker or something, where a lot of these residents, these people are, where when they are finally at that place, I mean, we're doing all we can to meet with them as regular as possible over and over. But if some of these things are just there and they can be like, that's it, I'm hungry, I need help, whatever, in their time of need, it could be there and not just something that they have to find me for a thing. I could just imagine on even some of our, we see things around town where, right next to someone standing there trying to get help, but they could look over and say, my help is right next to me. So just a thought.
Maybe I'll put them in the karma boxes.
Ooh,
Yeah,
we know
that's a great
somebody.
idea. And I was thinking even I saw this in Sparks and I think your Hopes team did this. It was signage that said resource. And so maybe having those QR codes throughout the parks in Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County would be a great move. So great idea.
That is.
Dana, I just have a few questions.
Sure.
On the age statistics, I think it's just worth noting that nearly half of our population is in that 55-plus age group. And I'm assuming, I don't see the statistics here, but I'm assuming many of those are disabled folks that can't, seek employment. So I don't know if Bill for Zero do those type of statistics or ask for, disabilities when you really drill down on folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me see if we can pull that too.
I think that would be very illuminating for the community to understand that these are folks that really do need help, and it's good that we're getting them on the campus to serve them. That was just something I wanted to point out. Anything else from the committee? All right. Well, great work, Dana.
I
Yes.
have one question for all of you. We have taken your suggestion and used our website to do updates because we do have a lot of changing things. So each time there's been big news, we've emailed all of you, taken that exact information, made sure it's on our website. Is that working? Is it effective? Okay. Yes.
Councilwoman.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you. I appreciate you sending that out.
No, it's great, and I think pinging us to say there's some new information on there is helpful, and the more we share it and the more we become familiar with it and favorite it, and the more we'll get comfortable using it, and the community will as well. So thank you for that. Just alerting us that there's some new good stuff on there from time to time is beneficial. But no, you've done a great job, Dana. This data is tremendous. Thank you.
And you did a good job of also sharing good and bad news. So, that's, I say that it's very, very helpful that we know what's going on, because we'll get calls. But if we can say we know it's being worked on, that's really great.
Absolutely, and I think that that's to be commended. When the showers were collapsed, you let this committee know, and you also put that on the website. We're extremely transparent at Washoe County, and I'm very proud about that. So, and then we're always looking for solutions. So thank you so much for that active communication. We really appreciate it. And great job, Dana and team.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, board member announcements, reports, and updates to include requests for future board agenda items. I'll start with Councilwoman Jordan.
I think I already said my,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Weber. Okay, Councilman Dare.
I just have one. I know that it was talked about, I saw a thing come out, I think in one of the reports, is that it is open now for churches and people to come and help. There's training involved, stuff. Just it'd be great to probably hear what that looks like at large, have
Oh,
that on
yeah.
the agenda. I think it'd be helpful.
Yes, we can discuss the volunteer opportunities more.
I think it'd be really good.
And then just to note, we will have the Eddie House coming to our next meeting per your request, Councilman Dare. So thank you very much. All right. Next up, public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the board agenda. The board will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the board as a whole. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay, thank you so much. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work.